Everybody seems to love the Absolute era, and I seem to be the hater. Let me tell you why, though. Hey, welcome back to a rare John's Comics with Kids criticism video. I don't often do that. I tend to stick to making things about books that I'm loving and enjoying, but something about the Absolute Universe is just not sitting right with me, and it's probably just because I'm a complainer. It's probably just because nothing really always succeeds with me. The key being usually Batman. I struggle with Batman comics. Anything really in the last like almost 10 years, I really have struggled to find a Batman that I've loved that has been maybe true to my vision of Batman. And so when it came to this absolute version, I probably went in with the wrong mindset. I probably went in with the wrong head game because I don't love the Scott Snyder Batman a ton. I don't love his view of the character a ton. I know that his Court of Owls is highly regarded, and I do enjoy that first volume, but most of the subsequent volumes in his run just don't hold up for me for whatever reason. I struggle with the perspective he's got on the character in some ways. I think he loses some of the humanity to the character a lot of times, and I think he often focuses too much on just the violence. Which I get it; it's a Batman comic; you want to sell the violence, but for me, it's a bit much, and it's all AF here when we get to Batman in the Absolute Universe. And I have struggled. So I spent the weekend catching up on all the Absolute comics. I have reviewed the first issue or two in the past, but now they've almost all got 5 issues under their belts. The Wonder Woman 5th issue is coming out this week, if you didn't know. And when I reviewed them all at the beginning, I was pretty emphatic that the Batman was easily my least favorite. It was because it had so many problems, but key among them was tone. And the tone issue for me is two things. One, the book seems to be very dark and violent, and it's a bigger, badder, meaner, carries an axe Batman. And then yet it's so ridiculously over the top. It's almost like a comedy. So the tone for me is way all over the map. And that's where I struggle to get into it. It almost like is making fun of Batman while also like trying to be true to Batman, which doesn't work for me, the reader. I tend to be thrown way off by this iteration. And it's all, I guess, epitomized by the by the logo, the axe bat chest piece that he's wearing. So for those that don't know, these are all alternate universes characters, right? Alternative versions, which is fine. If they're going to be alternative, let them be alternative or whatever. I'm just struggling to get into this one. The art by Dragotta, comes and goes. There are certain panels that I really love. And then ultimately, most of the stuff relating to Batman and his weird car that is like a giant trash truck and then also can like transform like a transformer down into like a small Batmobile and doesn't make a lot of sense to me. The weird axe on his chest. And then now with this 5th issue, we got the Bat Signal, which I think is an unfair title for it because if you saw that up in the sky, it would look like a yellow ring with a black circle in the middle because there's no bat in this logo. If you look at his chest here, you can see like even the logo in the trade dress here at the top, it doesn't look like a bat. It's a rectangle with some spikes on it. Like it just doesn't look like a bat. Nobody's going to say, oh, that's Batman. Look at that symbol. It doesn't work for me. So there's a lot of issues for me with the tone, and it comes through with this over the top attitude in everything. It's jokingly said it's Batman AF, right? Even though that means advance forward. Get out of here, Marcus. I see you, circumstances. It's a tongue-in-cheek comment, right? Clearly they're trying to make a little tongue-in-cheek comment with the reader. And ultimately, to me, it plays into the flaw of tone where they want to be called dark, brooding, and intense, but they also want to laugh at the character at the same time. And it just doesn't work for me. So that's the one I like least. Let's talk about one that I think improved for me a lot, which was the Absolute Superman. This storyline has been gaining momentum for me. I thought the first issue was fine. It seemed a bit like they were cramming too much into one comic. The subsequent issues, I felt like they built on that really well. I'm a Jason Aaron fan, so I kind of felt like I knew he could build into something better. The concept of him as kind of like a class warrior, I thought was interesting. I don't know that I love this Lois Lane. That's kind of an odd way to have her as like, I guess, a government agent, like a, she looks like a soldier more than a journalist, but she does have some of the same desire to seek out the truth, and I like that perspective on her a little bit. It still feels a little bit much, it's Superman AF, if you will. So I don't love it, but it's vastly improved, I would say, from that first issue where I really was like, I don't ever want to read read any of this again, because it just felt like they were shoehorning entirely too much into a single book. But the subsequent issues, I do think it's gotten a little stronger. So if you're interested in Superman, maybe wait and then get that first 5, 6 issues when they've got one arc done and you can check it out. But then my favorite of all of them, the one that I think works the best, is the Wonder Woman storyline. I think that Kelly Thompson's been doing a much better job than the others as far as not overfilling her plate and instead trying to give us a Wonder Woman story that can give us a little backstory, but really focuses on the here and now. In this case, she's protecting a city from demon invasion of sorts, and has been battling all kinds of creatures. And in the meantime, kind of flashing back to her time as not necessarily coming from Themyscira, but instead basically coming from the underworld, right? And we get a little bit of her Steve Trevor storyline, right, and how they met. But for me, I know some people were turned off by the artwork in this one in the same way that I was maybe turned off by some of the Dragota stuff in Absolute Batman. This works better for me. There are times when when the artist, the faces they draw, Wonder Woman's face, I don't love it. And so some of the close-ups don't work for me as well as the action. The creatures and the battle sequences, those work a lot better for me, and I tend to enjoy them in this storyline the most. And then the second issue was a quieter issue with a lot more dialogue. And that's when the artwork, I think, struggles a bit to keep up with what they're doing. So of the three, this one I would rank the highest. I think it's the story is easiest to latch onto. It's very streamlined. It's not overloaded. And yet I feel like they're giving us a nice backstory, because this Wonder Woman is very different from the versions we've seen in the past. And yet also bound by the same moral code in some ways. And maybe that's why I like her the most, is she aligns, I mean, more than Superman and Batman, at least. She aligns more with what I want from a Wonder Woman character, right? Versus the Batman is so wacky. It's so over the top and ridiculous. Like, I still can't believe nobody's working at the job site going, that 7'5" guy who's like all muscle and seems to be like super tired because he's out late at night. I wonder if that's Batman. I wonder if that's Batman. This, on the other hand, makes a lot more logical sense. I'm willing to suspend the disbelief on this one way more, and I'm enjoying it the most. Still, I would say it's probably an 8 out of 10 for me, this one. The others being obviously lower than that. I'd say 7 and then 6, probably Superman and then Batman for me. I do think it's interesting. Mark Legion of Comics mentioned that it's kind of cool how different people are taking to different books in the series, kind of the same way that the Geigerverse or the unnamed Jeff Johns universe books, different people like different books, and it's not everybody feeling pretty consistent that this is the best and this is the worst, right? So I guess in that way, there's a lot of diversity to opinion on these titles. But I would love to hear from you, your thoughts. If you are enjoying the Absolute Universe, I know that I'm so happy to see that they're bringing people to shops, that they're bringing people to discuss them in social media, online, and YouTube videos and things. These are the things that we need to keep this hobby going. So I'm happy seeing that kind of passion and discussion going on. Let me know your thoughts. I want to thank the channel members. These are the homies keeping the lights on here, helping me make this channel as fun and hopefully exciting as it is for all of you. Hopefully I didn't come off as too much of a complainer. I try not to be that kind of a comic fan and comic nerd. I try to be somebody that is excited about books, and these are definitely exciting. times and titles, but maybe just not as much for me personally. And that's fine. Everybody can have their favorites, right? But let me know down below. Do you have a favorite? How would you rank these three? And are you ready? Because I guess we've got the ultimate, the absolute flash coming here very soon, along with a few other titles. So hit me up, let me know, and I'll see you guys back here again soon.